This is the reason why Bradford City could bottle promotion this season out of League Two. And bottle's a strong word, but at the end of the day, come May, if we don't go up, we've had more than enough chances to get promotion to League One, and we won't get a better chance than this season. And the reason is, we don't score enough goals. When we went on a great run, we were scoring ones, and we were very lucky to get twos in that winning run that we had in January to February. And the concern was we don't score enough. Yes, we're getting the wins, but in the long term, can we just keep winning 1-0? And will that come back to bite us? Well, it has, because in the last 4 games, in the last 5 games, we've only scored 4 goals, and that was in 1 game. The rest of them we hadn't scored in. And against Dullingham, it was a close game, really fought out, and it probably deserved to be a 0-0 draw, but they got their chance and they took it, and we couldn't take ours, although there were half chances and we didn't create all too much. Tranmere, first half we had a few chances, second half there was nothing. They got a penalty, they took it and they scored it, and that was the difference in that one, 1-0. Accrington, 0-0, boring game, we didn't do anything to create enough chances, and neither did they, 0-0 draw. And against Port Vale, we were hopeless in the final third, and again didn't create enough chances. And in those winning runs, we were creating, but we didn't ever feel like we can beat a team by 2 or 3 until we played some really poor teams like MK Dons, or your better opposition in Walsall and Colchester, where when you score 1 and 2, they have to open up and there's loads of chances getting created then. And a big difference obviously in that run was we had Sarcevic, Patterson and Poynton. Those 3 are game changers, and I hope they were the best players in the division on the day, and they can change an outcome of a season. And we've seen with Patterson and Sarcevic when they've been injured in that run from October to December, where we hadn't won for 2 months, as close as that was. And again now with Sarcevic out, we've let that guy in the final third. But the reason is that the goal scorers. And we've seen, that first half of the season when we had Andy Cook, we were quite mediocre. We were mid-table in League Two after that Notts County game, and by the time we got injured, we were just outside the playoffs. I think there were about 5 points between us and second, so yes, it could have quite easily changed. We know how tight League Two is and how it has been throughout that run. So we'll never know if we were better with or without Andy Cook, but that's another video for another day. But today, the striking options have not been good enough throughout the season. Tyler Smith's gone out on loan to Barrow. He scored a few there, but for us, he was never that player who could score in big moments, miss so many huge opportunities, and could only do it in the cup matches against under 21s. And look, he's doing well for Barrow, but he was never that striker for us who could get 10 to 20 goals, and he wasn't a good partner for Andy Cook either. Fidane Oliver's gone out to Shrewsbury again. He's got a couple of goals, but he was lazy, lethargic, and he never got started. He was a hopeless player for us, and I'm seeing people saying, oh well, he would have been a good option off the bench in some games. He was dreadful. He was 6'4", and he never challenged for a header, and it was one of the worst strikers I've seen at Bradford City on a 3-year deal with the amount of money he won as well. And in terms of bringing in a striker in January to combat the Andy Cook departure for the season, probably until November next year, and Oliver and Smith going out on loan, there's criticism still that we should have brought in our striker. Well, Alexander and people said, your Sharps, they said, well, we had one who were ready to come in, but we didn't think he were the right character, and character's huge, because we brought in desperate signings. Theo Robinson's, probably harsh to single him out, but we brought in so many strikers, particularly, who have been panicked by his last minute deals, who are nowhere near the level, but have they got the character to play for Bradford City? Did a fit in with the group? And that's what we have got with this team. That's why we're still up there. Alexander Streaky, we know that, but this team is up there, and for the most part of the season they've been on good ones, and there's a good character in the group. Sam Walker said they're like a gang, and that's what you want. So if we brought someone in January and he didn't fit the group, and he didn't have the ability either, because it's a gamble, I would have much rather have stuck with good people and players who have a decent level of ability. But that has been the issue. Ollie Sanderson as well, who we had earlier in the season, didn't appear to have the right character and ability. He could show it in flashes, but I don't think he was anything special. And he's shown that, in his loan spell at Harrogate as well. Callum Kavanagh, Jamie Walker, Michael Mellon and Tommy Lee are the forward line options right now, and have been in this poor one of scoring goals, really, and that's what has shown in this last month, where we haven't been able to win by one or to nick a chance and to get a bit of luck in the final third. Who's the best option out of them? Well, two of them are strikers, Tommy Lee and Jamie Walker. And I think Jamie Walker could do a job as a striker, but in a front two, up with Andy Cook. As a single striker, he can't hold the ball up that well. Back to goal, he's not a player who's good with his back to goal. And, he ain't got that. One thing with Jamie Walker is he's never been consistent. He goes through good spells and bad spells, and consistency in terms of delivering goals and assists hasn't been there. When you look at his numbers throughout 3 years at Bradford City, he hasn't had that consistency of a player who, like Sarcevic has when he's been playing, and Patterson and Point, and you know what you're going to get when they start. You don't with Jamie Walker. And Tommy Lee just hasn't hit the ground running by far. He's been... Well, looks like a poor sign. I think he's someone who can come good, but he's not a striker. In no way is he a striker. Again, can't hold the ball up, has no physical presence. Yes, he's 6'2", 6'1", but that doesn't mean he's good in the air. He ain't. He don't look confident up there. He's got a good goal record in League One and in League Two for Accrington, but that doesn't mean he's a good striker and he's a poacher and he makes the right runs and he knows he ain't got the nous of a striker. He's got the nous of a midfielder who can make the right runs in and around the box. I want to see him more in them areas, but he looks like someone who just needs a pre-season, and I'll judge him next season. But definitely in a striker. And then it comes to Mellon and Kavanagh. Who's the better one out of them? And I honestly don't know. I don't think there's a lot split from him. Mellon hasn't hit the ground running, but I think he's had, 5 starts and scored 2, which is not a bad record at all. He's definitely the striker who looks more like a striker out of the lot of them. He has more of a make of a striker. And to be fair, I don't think I think in the box, if he gets in the right areas and the right chances and the right supply, I think he could look. I think he could easily get around that 10-goal mark for us if he had a good run in the team, but he's been brought in and out. And I think that the frustration that you can have with a Mellon is he doesn't look as interested as the Kavanagh. But the problem with Kavanagh is as interested as he looks, and he won't stop running. He's a pest. I like his work rate, but he's got nothing in the air, absolutely nothing. He gets easily bullied. His first touch bounces away, like trampoline. It goes off into all sorts of directions, and he's just hopeless with his first touch, which is terrible if you want to be a team that builds up in the final thirds and play one-touch football. He can't do it, and he can't hold the ball up. And we saw that against Port Vale. He was a big weakness for us, and Accrington as well. When you're trying to play him as a focal point, he ain't that. So he's absolutely hopeless with that. And in the box, he don't look like a player who's he's poor at his finishing as well. He don't catch the ball cleanly. So again, he don't really look like a striker. He's better with an Andy Cook up there, but still he's not convincing. Ability-wise, he hasn't really got it, but he's probably got the work rate that Mellon hasn't really shown. But definitely Mellon's the best option up there, but we just haven't scored enough. And if it wasn't for Andy Cook, if we're going to start comparing, then we'd be outside. Well, we'd have 59 points because he won us 11 points whilst he was available. He made a big part of our season, and we've got to remember that he still scored 12 goals in what 20 matches or something. Still a fantastic record, and he'd be going for 30 goals. The difference is we play with more men in midfield and we have a bit more energy, but we definitely will look at that January, and like I say, we will think, could we have brought in a striker? How much of a difference would it have made? And it could well be, and I think it will be the reason that it will be the reason that we look back on and we go, well, that's why we didn't go up. We didn't have that striker who could score 20 goals. We don't have a Jayden Stockley or a Tolai who can hold the ball up and be a big threat for defenders in and outside the box. And David McGoldrick, a Jata, an Ironside and a Rob Street, all of them, they have those strikers, and that's what Walsall have missed with Nathan Lowe. And it's not rocket science sometimes with football. If you can have a striker and a goalkeeper, and you can win your midfield battles, that's what's going to get you promoted. And the midfield battle we've been losing recently, and the striker hasn't been there to score the goals and to put away any chance that could have been deemed as a goal scoring opportunity where they've got to do better. But certainly Lee's not the option. Jamie Walker isn't the option. He's not a striker who can play up there on his own. And I think we've got to really use him in this final run in as an attacking midfielder. And Kavanagh does not do enough for us in terms of holding the ball up and linking the midfield to the attack. And then in the final third, he misses big opportunities, and he's too greedy as well. Holds onto a ball too often and don't see the game. He don't see a runner who he can pick a pass to. And I mean, I wouldn't want to see him try either because his passing's appalling. But like I say, he's got the work rate. And Mellon, I think if he had a run of 5-10 games, I think he could look like a really top striker, but he hasn't had that opportunity to have that running. Like I say, he's only started 5 and he scored 2, and a huge goal at that against Salford. So I want to see more Mellon, and I think he could be a difference to us on and off the ball. But he needs that opportunity. But it definitely will be the reason why we don't go up if we don't find a solution to our goal scoring issues. And midfielders have chipped in recently as well, like I say, Sarcevic, Patterson. They've added a difference this season that we've never had from midfield with goal scorers, and Lapsley's come in and scored 4, which is fantastic. But he only doesn't embrace it, is inconsistent. But it's the quality as well, and like we said in the match reaction, you've got to be braver. And if you're not creating the chances for your strikers or your midfielders making the forward runs, then you're going to struggle. And recently we haven't had that bravery to create the chances either. So that is what we're going to look back on, certainly as a big issue for us, and maybe have the regrets in the January window of, I don't think we're moving the strikers. Like I said, Oliver, Smith and Sanderson were never the answer, but maybe not thinking ahead and not having a replacement for Andy Cook and always relying on Andy Cook, and that the players behind him haven't stepped up. It could be something we look back on as a bit of a regret and the reason why we didn't get promoted to League One in our best ever opportunity to do so. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Like the video if you did, and subscribe if you're new. On the road to 900 subscribers. All support recently has been massively appreciated. Have a good one.